Ekam aksharam hृदि nirantaram bhasate swayam likyate hृदय कुहर मध्ये केवलम् अहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण हृदि विषमसा चिन्वता आत्मनिष्ठो देहं जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तभावशुक्तिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भाव ओहं भावयिता दृष्टात्मनिष्टात्मना सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचल शिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयम् Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday Satsang from Ramanacentre for learning, it has been our practice to read two verses selected for us from Guru Vachaka Kovai, which is by Muruganar Swamigal. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the actual practice of self-enquiry for 15 minutes. After these two segments of reading of the verses selected and meditation on meaning and practice of Atma Ucharam are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Sri Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that will be followed by the offering of Sri Ramana Stotram. The chanting will be online by Vaibhoji and Pratnama. and we can all offer the I by inquiring who is the listener. We begin the satsang by going to the first verse randomly selected for us by Revatiman. The verse number is 368. 368 we find in the segment investigation into truth. The work itself is divided into Viveka, Vichara, Anubhava. That is investigation or discrimination, meditation or Vichara, and Anubhava or experience of the truth. This is in the first segment. In fact, each verse will contain all the three components. There will be Viveka, the Satya, Asatya, discrimination will be there. There will be the component of what is Vichara. There will be the component of Anubhava in each verse. But what is more emphasized determines Muruganar's selection for which segment it is placed in. So this 368 we find in investigation or Viveka, and the subsegment is release from sorrow, dukkha nivritti. Sukha prapti is automatic because what is Satchitananda. So dukkha nivritti automatically means abiding in the self. So dukkha nivritti 368, unless one realizes that the self, through forgetfulness of which this world illusion becomes powerful, unless one realizes that the self, through forgetfulness of which the world illusion becomes powerful, bewildering, and seducing, there is not the remotest possibility of sorrow completely ceasing to exist. So the tables are turned that the sorrow will cease to exist only on self-realization. The topic is how to get rid of or release from sorrow. That will be self-awareness. The verse says, unless one realizes that self, through forgetfulness of which this world illusion becomes powerful, bewildering, and seducing, there is not the remotest possibility of sorrow completely ceasing to exist. So actually, in Vedanta, the mind assumes the creator post. It creates all the three. It creates Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. That is how the mind is described. So, the triad of Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara are created by the mind. And Lakshman Sharma ji writes, mind creates the whole world by remembering and destroys the whole world by forgetting. So how is the creation and destruction, you can say, or fulfillment, you can say. Death can be destruction if you are looking to the irrelevant items. Death can be fulfillment if you are looking to the consciousness which is unperturbed by the death of the irrelevant item. So, unless one realizes the self and realizes that the mind through remembrance creates the loka, and through forgetfulness it goes into laya. So what is srishti and what is pralaya? Srishti and pralaya are present every moment through the mind, not Nandakumar's mind or X's mind or Y's mind, but inside us is that mind, the source of all the three, the individual, the world, and the Ishvara. by remembering. These are the only two talks in Vedanta. There is the mind, there is no Ishvara also, there is only the mind. And the mind through remembrance creates, and through forgetfulness it destroys. But by seeking its source and going to the self, which is beyond remembrance and forgetfulness, you cannot remember the self, you cannot forget the self, you can only be the self. Therefore, only by realizing the self, one is free of the sorrow of the mind creation called the loka, and the loka deludes us in powerful, bewildering, and seducing ways. And that sorrow is removed by the simple but powerful attention of who am I? Bhagavan says, the stillness of the eye is mulu muyarchi. The stillness of the eye is going beyond the mind, is going beyond remembrance and forgetfulness. There is nothing to remember, nothing to forget, only the eye holding the eye. What Buddha calls as be a light unto yourself. You are being a light unto yourself in self-attention. There is no other to light up. What is the source of the light? The eye. That is where you are going. And in that realization of that self lies the complete demolition or destruction of sorrow, says Bhagavan. And let's sit in the practice of that stilling of the eye for the next 15 minutes, which takes one beyond all sorrow and shows that the self is ever realized. Ujjwalji, you can set the time for us. Thank you.
नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. We continue by taking up the second verse selected for us, 843. 843. We find it in the segment meditation on the truth or vichara. 843. The subsegment is the collective mind. The collective mind. Is it 843 or 842? 843, yes. Individual consciousness is not the ultimate truth. You should know that the true I, which shines as a single entity, appears as innumerable different eyes because it is viewed through the I am this body, I am the body limitation. You should know that the true I, which shines as a single entity, appears as innumerable different eyes because it is viewed through I am the body limitation. Know them all the apparent eyes, to be collectively one, not different from each other. By viewing through the Swarupa perspective, that shines as the one deathless self, the pure being consciousness. Know them all the multiple eyes, including the divine entities. All those eyes are the one eye present which is present within us, to be collectively one, not different from each other. By viewing through the Swarupa perspective, that shines as one, as the one deathless self, the self-luminous self, pure being consciousness. I am. This is where it becomes clear that self-enquiry is not a selfish process. It is not a process by which one tries to get liberated, leaving others bound. The very process of self-enquiry reveals that we are all one. Unless one realizes that we are all one, there is no liberation. So when somebody says this self-enquiry seems to be you are not helping anybody and you are sitting somewhere and you are selfishly attaining mukti, that is totally off the mark. Not a single thing is understood about self-enquiry by such a person. What appears as multiple eyes has to be gathered as one. Only after the first person arises, the second and third person arises. How do I see Ujjwalji for what he is? Only by knowing that single eye. Who is seeing Ujjwalji? Who has now, the organizer of the program has now split as the speaker and the listener. And the listener seems to be about 10 or 11. Now there is Ujjwalji, the organizer, then there is the speaker, there is the listener. All these are, for whom is this? For me. Who am I? In that one I, which is self-attention, it is self-attention with bhava bhala. Bhava bhalatinal bhavanatita sadbhavattiliruttale undipara parabhakti tattvam undipara. To understand that this multiple eyes is an illusion. To see who your daughter is, to see who your father, who is no more there in the body. Who is that person who did so much for you and he passed away without you being able to serve him? Who is that? For whom is this thought that my father is no more, is dead in 1982? It is for me. Who am I? The father is really present as the I, where even if he has deluded himself to be a separate entity and is having sanchara in different worlds, where he has to come to the self-luminous self. And that is where we have to take our eternal residence. In this Swarupa, all the past, all the future, all the present entities, divine, non-divine, devilish, everything is rolled into the one I. And that is where the self-enquiry takes us. That there is no authority outside of us. There is no one to be subservient to. At the same time, there is nobody to control, nobody to say, you are subservient to me. Hey, you are not listening to me after so many years. I have done so much for you. That is also delusion. It is also delusion to fall at somebody's feet and say, you have liberated me. Where is the liberation? The liberation is in unifying all the different personalities. Under the personalities, all the lokas are present. That is why unifying the personality unifies all the bodies. Because all this, who is Ishvara? Ishvara is having the creation as his body. But this is Meyaham, the true I. தூய்மன மொழிய தோயுமுன் மெய்யகம் தோயவே அருளென் அருணாச்சலா தைரியமோடு முன் மெய்யகம் நாடையான் தட்டடிந்தேன் அருள் அருணாச்சலா மெய்மக மனதின் மன மென்மலர் அணையில் நாம் மெய்கலதிடவருள் அருணாச்சலா மைமயல் நீக்கிட that is மென்மலர் அணையில் நாம் மெய் கலந்திட அருள் அருணாச்சலா. The மெய்யகம் is referred to in 3 places in Aksharamanamale. Arunachala's eye is said to be மெய்யகம். மெய்யகம் means in that self he has no body. He has no non-self. He is only shining as. So through bhakti itself, you can come to self-knowledge. That is why in the Muktakatrayam, the third one says, Soham Spurti Taya Arunachala Shivaha Purno Vibhati Swayam. But then you can speak Vedanta. Arunachala himself would have guided you that he is the self of all. And then you can speak as though Ishvara is not there. Because he has now consumed all the 3 and is now shining as the Meyaham, as the self of all. That is the Swarupa, where all divine personalities you have worshipped are now oneness. Now what better darshan of God can be there? How Bhagavan gives darshan. As Ganapati Muni says, he says that Bhagavan Ramana gave me darshan of Ishvara. As the one shining within, he reveals the Ishvara to me. Now Ishvara darshana is what? Is the experience of the Meyaham. Is the experience of the Swarupa. Now let us do it with effort, but as the proclivities towards the non-self, which is not real, they die away, they drop away, they wither away, then only the Meyaham is there effortlessly. But then that sadhana of effort, of turning inward, is what we do now, which we should understand is darshanam. Is darshanam of Ishvara as he really is. He is not split up as this multiple personalities. He is not split up as 30,000 divine entities. He is Ekam. So that is where we are going. There is no going and coming. All goings and comings are dropped to be one with the self-luminous self. Let's practice for the next 15 minutes. Ujjwalji, you can set the time for us. Thank you. Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh ji to give us the summing up remarks? Namo Ramana, sir.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Dhanamulam Gurur Murti, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Vakyam, Mokshamulam Guru, Mokshamulam Guru. Now let's look at the scenario where you look at a hospital and there is a doctor who is then as MBBS, MD, FRCS, MRCP, and he's the best surgeon in town. And he knows inside he is the best surgeon, heart surgeon in town. And he goes on doing so many operations after operations, and all of them successful operations. And he's the most wanted doctor. Suddenly, what happens that his wife lands up with a heart problem. Now, let's look at that situation. Now, this doctor, who is the best heart surgeon in the whole city, suddenly forgets. He becomes a husband. He forgets that he is the best doctor in town, and he thinks of his wife. And he says, "Oh, my wife has this problem." And he forgets himself that he's the best doctor, and he approaches another doctor and says, "You do the operation for my wife. I will not do the operation for my wife." Why? Because there's attachment. You have left the situation where you are the best doctor. You've left the self, and you've gone outside and got attached to this prapancha, to his wife. And the wife is what? Is another patient. That's all, nothing else. Got a heart problem? You are the best surgeon. But no, your wife, he forgets that he is the best doctor, and he attaches himself to be the husband and comes into nama and rupa and time and space. And then what happens? He says, "I can't do operate my wife." He gets another doctor to come and operate, and he doesn't even want to see the operation because this his wife is who's being operated, not another patient. So this is a simple example that if you leave who you really are, then you get attached to something outside, and then it becomes absolutely messy. Let's look at the second shloka, a beautiful second shloka. He says that the Atman is one. Now, if you go to the zoo, what happens in the zoo? When you go, it says, "Oh, zoo is full of animals." And who's going watching them? All the human beings are. So it feels like all human beings are only there on one side and all animals on the other side. It doesn't feel like there is a Malayali there's a Telugu fellow there's a Tamilian guy, there's a Bengali fellow who all this side of the railing seem like all like human beings, and the other side look like all animals. Another example is the beautiful example of blood. When you're donating blood, do you go and find out whom the blood is being given to? You have A positive blood and you have to donate the blood. You don't worry whether it goes to another human being. So there is that unity. So the blood bank is what? It's unifying. It wherever there is a need, the blood is given. So there is no separate, there is no two. There is only one. What? That somebody is need of blood and the blood will be given. So these examples, if you look at it, have that thing that we have to see the commonality. We have to be established in the self. When we establish in the self, then we will not see another. Like the doctor who saw his wife and then decided not to operate. But thousands of operations he does in a month. He doesn't wink an eyelid. And he does it because he knows. But the moment he gets into prapancha, he gets stuck. That's what Bhagavan says. The self-inquiry is so important, and we have to keep doing that to be always be establishing the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to render the chanting of Ramana Stotram. Let us inquire as to who is listening to the chanting.
नमो रमण भारद्वाज विश्वनाथ विरचितम् श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनामावलिः अपार सच्चित् सुखवारिराशे यस्य विमात्रं भुवनं समस्तं गुहाहितं तं रमणं गभीरं चिन्ताविहीनं हृदि चिन्तयामि ॐ महासेन महोंसेन जाताय नमः ॐ श्रीरमणाय नमः ॐ गुरवे नमः ॐ अखण्डसंविदाकाराय नमः ॐ महौजसे नमः ॐ कारणोद्भवाय नमः ॐ जगद्धितावताराय नमः ॐ श्रीभूमिनाथस्थलोस्थिताय नमः ॐ पराशरकुलोत्तंसाय नमः ॐ सुन्दरार्यतपःफलाय नमः ॐ कमनीयसुचारित्राय नमः ॐ सहायाम्बा सहायवते नमः ॐ शोणाचलमहोलीनमानसाय नमः ॐ स्वर्णहस्तकाय नमः ॐ श्रीमद्द्वादशान्तमहास्थले लब्धविद्योदयाय नमः ॐ महाशक्तिनिपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः ॐ तीव्राय नमः ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः ॐ इन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः ॐ पितुरादेशतः शोणशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः ॐ तपोमयाय नमः ॐ उदासीनाय नमः ॐ महायोगिने नमः ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः ॐ कुशाग्रधिये नमः ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसम्रम्भाय नमः ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः ॐ सवित्रे नमः ॐ स्थिराय नमः ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः ॐ चन्द्रिकासितहासश्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः ॐ च्यूतवाट्यां समासीनाय नमः ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः ॐ विराजदचलाकृतये नमः ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः ॐ पूर्णाय नमः ॐ रचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः ॐ गम्भीराय नमः ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः ॐ धीराय नमः ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः ॐ स्वराज्ये नमः ॐ महर्षये नमः ॐ भगवते नमः ॐ ईड्याय नमः ॐ धूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः ॐ विमलाय नमः ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः ॐ आप्ताय नमः ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः ॐ समदृशे नमः ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः ॐ सत्याय नमः ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः ॐ अमृतविक्रमाय नमः ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः ॐ श्री शोणाचल ऋग्बोध स्कंदाश्रम निकेतनाय नमः। ओम सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ओम सद्भक्तवृंद परिवृताय नमः। ओम गणेश मुनिभृंगेन सेवितांग्रि सरोरुहाय नमः। ओम गीतोपदेश सारादि ग्रंथ संचिन्न संशयाय नमः। ओम वर्णाश्रम मतातीताय नमः। ओम रसज्ञाय नमः। ओम सौम्याय नमः। ओम आत्मवते नमः। ओम सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ओम सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ओम आत्मारामाय नमः। ओम महाभागाय नमः। ओम मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ओम विनताय नमः। ओम विनुताय नमः। ओम विप्राय नमः। ओम मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ओम पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ओम दर्शनादगसंहारिणे नमः। ओम मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ओम ऋच्चान्तिकरसानिध्याय नमः। ओम स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ओम अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ओम संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ओम शोणाग्निशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ओम भार्गविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ओम अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ओम नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ओम कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ओम शुभ्रकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ओम गुहाय नमः। ओम दण्डपाणये नमः। ओम कृपापूर्णाय नमः। ओम भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः। ओम स्कन्दाय नमः। ओम देवतमाय नमः। ओम अमर्त्याय नमः। ओम सेनान्ये नमः। ओम पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः। ओम श्रीरमण भगवते नमः। श्रीरमणाष्टोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि। यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य पदयोः स्मृत्याजन्यं प्राप्यत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवश सादात्म्यभावं गतः निर्निष्ठस्वगभीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येतराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नम इदं लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे। ओम नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Ramana, thank you, Vaibhav ji. Thank you, Pratnama. Thank you, Venkatesh ji. Thank you,
Namo
Arjun
Ramana.
ji. Namo Ramana to all.